Thank you to our panelists. 2021 expects to be a busy year for public policy with lots of challenges to solve in both Austin and Washington. So I'm going to jump right in. From infrastructure to education and workforce training to improving equity, this past year has caused us to think about the future differently, or has it? So Sean, we'll begin the conversation with you. Please share your thoughts.
DFW Airport is one of the largest job generators in the region. And despite the pandemic and the impact it's had on aviation, we have tried to keep as many infrastructure projects moving at the airport as possible and have been able to create about 4,000 construction jobs at DFW during the past year. And we're going to continue to focus on those opportunities. And obviously, job creation is an enormous priority for the chamber, and we support that.
What it showed us as far as lack of infrastructure were those areas where we didn't have broadband, where it wasn't, you went from serving office buildings to now serving homes and people working from home.
Thank you, Wendy. William, we've just heard from our two prior panelists on infrastructure, equity, some of the challenges here during COVID. From Boeing's perspective, would love to hear your take and perspective on these issues and areas.
It's caused us to shift rather quickly and radically, quite frankly. And what we're discovering is, we're looking at everything on an infrastructure, from an infrastructure perspective, IT security, with the number of people working remotely, how do we safeguard our data and our interchange, between our colleagues? I would say that one of the more telling things for us is from an equity perspective, not only our employees, but also in the community, is, the access, broadband. We're working with a number of nonprofits in the area to help bring broadband services to underrepresented communities to help with education, and that's something that we feel is very important as this prolonged impact of the pandemic is having an adverse effect on the education, and in particular, those that are underrepresented.
A lot of these challenges that we're working on, these issues, these are long-term issues that TI and the TI Foundation have been focused on for many years. The pandemic might have put a spotlight on these issues, on the inequities in our public education system and other social injustices that we've seen. But these are issues that our company and our foundation have been focused on for years and have partnered with many organizations, including the Chamber, which has taken a great leadership role on this. So we look forward to continuing to work on this, especially in the education space, to make sure that all students have the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah, I think many businesses are trying to think along those lines as well, as how can they create those connections that we may have lost, because it's working okay for now, but this is not sustainable. We need to be able to have human interaction again, which is why I think everyone is so supportive of all the efforts from the governmental side to really try to bring some relief and more infrastructure, vaccinations, all the things that need to happen for us to get back to more of a newer sense of normal. I think we've touched on a couple of things that I think that's going to be present on all of our legislative agendas as far as a priority is broadband across the board and strong broadband. That is one of the biggest issues I know in education, especially not only in the inner city, but also in rural areas. The fact that there's vast parts of Texas that don't really have good broadband Wi-Fi, that is a disadvantage. And again, I think it's one of the things that's creating more gaps in the process. And as this occurs, and unless we really put a big, significant, as a state and as a country, investment in infrastructure on broadband that is available to everyone, we're going to continue to see these disparities, especially with those underserved communities.
Thanks so much for your always great insight on key issues. Virginia, what has the business community learned that you feel is the future of public policy discussions at both a state and federal level?
what do we really need from our government? And these aren't necessarily TI business issues, but they certainly are issues that are important to our community and to our employees. Along with broadband, we need a good healthcare system. We've seen how our neighbors' health can affect all of us, can bring people up, and can also tear people down, whether you have health insurance or not. And we've also seen where some of our government systems, their data and their infrastructure might be outdated or might need some further investment to be able to support the growing needs of the community during times of crisis, but also during times of opportunity. I think there's a lot we can learn from this time, and I see the business community very united in supporting government and making some changes to adapt to our new world.
We have learned at Boeing that, first of all, organizations like the DRC are very important, especially in times like this, so that we can collect some of the common themes across the business community and represent us with the elected officials. One of the reasons we decided when we stood up Boeing Global Services, which is the third division of the Boeing company, is because of the access that we have here in the Dallas Metroplex. And I think, companies continue to come to Dallas, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And we want to make sure that we continue to prop up the educational system starting at an early age, not just at the university level. So that's something that we're really getting behind, not only in terms of our advocacy, but also with our dollars and our partnerships, because we recognize that it extends beyond us, right? We've got to have some formidable partners that can bring competencies to this area as well. So that's one of the things that we continue to learn even through this pandemic.
Thank you so much, William. Wendy, we've heard a few recurring themes today throughout our discussion. From AECOM's perspective, what does the future of public policy discussions look like?
We fully support, the fact that infrastructure creates jobs. And so when we start talking about the economy, we've been here before. We had the recession in 2008. And so there was an economic stimulus around infrastructure that created a lot of jobs. And so what we've been working with our political leadership on is changing things somewhat to look at the future infrastructure. There's a lot of changes happening in transportation these days, anything from Hyperloop to flying cars to electric vehicles, et cetera. And so we want to make sure that we're talking about that type of infrastructure that will help to create jobs in the future.
Here in the region, we help each other. We help each other through education, through infrastructure, through future development. So everyone within the region has that chance at success. Thank you again to all our panelists. Really appreciate all of y'all taking time out of your schedules and hopping on another Zoom call with us.